February 26, 1959. A search party trudges through deep snow in the remote Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They have been looking for 9 missing hikers for 3 weeks. The first sign of the group is a torn tent, half collapsed and buried under snow. Inside, there are personal belongings, clothes, and a camera, but no bodies. The tent has been cut open from the inside, as if the occupants fled in terror. The search widens. Over the next days, the bodies are found, scattered across the frozen landscape. Some are half naked, their clothes torn off. One has a fractured skull, another a crushed chest, injuries so severe they rival a car crash. Yet there is no sign of an animal attack or a struggle. The official report will state that the hikers died of a compelling natural force. But that explanation satisfies no one. The Dyatlov Pass incident has become one of the most baffling mysteries of the 20th century, a case that defies logic and remains unsolved to this day. The doomed group called themselves the Dyatlov Group, named after their leader, Igor Dyatlov. He was a 23-year-old engineering student with a passion for wilderness survival. The other 8 members were mostly students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. They were young, fit, and experienced. The year was 1959, the height of the Cold War. The Soviet Union was a land of secrets. But these hikers were driven not by politics, but by adventure. Their goal was to trek through the northern Urals to a mountain called a Torten, a journey of over 300 kilometers. They had planned the expedition for months, meticulously packing supplies, studying maps, and preparing for harsh conditions. The winter of 1959 was brutal, with temperatures dropping to minus 30 degrees Celsius. But the group was confident. They had faced such cold before. They were a team, bound by friendship and a shared love of the wild. Nothing could have prepared them for what awaited on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl. The journey began on January 23, 1959, from the town of Ivdel. The hikers took a bus and then a truck to the edge of the wilderness. From there, they skied into the forest. The first days were filled with optimism. The group made good progress, covering up to 25 kilometers a day. They took photographs, sang songs, and camped under the stars. Dyatlov kept a detailed diary, noting the weather, the terrain, and the mood of his team. The landscape was stunning. Snow-covered pines, frozen rivers, and the distant peaks of the Urals. By January 31st, they reached the base of Kholat Syakhl, a mountain whose name in the local Mansi language means dead mountain. The group planned to cross a pass and then descend toward Otorten. But the weather was turning, the wind picked up, and the temperature dropped. Still, Dyatlov decided to push on. They had a schedule to keep. The next day, they would begin the climb. On February 1st, the hikers made camp on the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl, about 300 meters from the pass. The wind was fierce, but they had chosen a spot that offered some shelter. They pitched their tent and settled in for the night. The diary entries from the day are mundane. They ate dinner, repaired a ski, and joked about the cold. But there were subtle warnings. The local Mansi people had advised against traveling in this area during winter. They considered the mountains sacred and dangerous. Some say they warned of strange lights and sounds. The hikers dismissed these as superstition. Also, the group had deviated from their planned route. Instead of going around the mountain, they decided to go over the pass. This forced them to set up camp on the exposed slope rather than in the forest below. It was a decision that would have fatal consequences. That night, the wind howled and the temperature plummeted to minus 25 degrees Celsius. Inside the tent, the 9 hikers slept, unaware that this would be their last night alive. The group had been on the mountain for only a few hours. They were tired, but in good spirits. The tent was cramped, but they were used to it. They took off their outer layers, some even removing their boots to rest. The wind battered the canvas, but the tent held. Outside, the snow continued to fall. The pass ahead was obscured by clouds. Inside, the hikers talked and laughed. They were young and confident, believing they could conquer any obstacle. The diary of one hiker, Yuri Yudin, who had to turn back early due to illness, later provided insight into their mentality. They were a close-knit group, fiercely loyal. They had trained for months. The mountain was just another challenge, but the mountain had other plans. The slope they camped on was steeper than they realized. The snow cover was deep and unstable, and there was something else in the air that night, an eerie stillness that sometimes precedes disaster. The hikers did not know it, but forces were aligning against them. The clock was ticking. At some point in the early hours of February 2nd, something happened. The hikers cut their tent open from the inside and fled into the night. They did not take their coats, boots, or supplies. Some were in their underwear. They ran down the mountain into the forest, a distance of nearly a kilometer. The temperature was minus 30 degrees Celsius, with wind chill making it feel much colder. Why did they leave? The most common theory is an avalanche, but the tent was not buried, and there were no signs of a snowslide. Another theory is infrasound, low-frequency sound waves that can cause panic. The wind blowing over the mountain could have generated such waves. Some survivors of infrasound experiments describe a feeling of dread and disorientation, but this remains speculation. What is certain is that the hikers were terrified. They ran into the darkness, away from their only shelter. The decision to cut the tent open rather than unzip it suggests urgency. They did not have time to think. They were reacting to something they perceived as an immediate threat. The hikers split into two groups. Some climbed a tree to escape the cold, but they died there. Others huddled together on the ground. The bodies were found over the next weeks. The first to be discovered were near a cedar tree, about 300 meters from the tent. They were dressed only in underwear. Their limbs were outstretched as if they had been trying to build a fire. The remains of a small fire were found nearby, but the cold was too intense. They had suffered hypothermia. But there was more. Two of the hikers had massive internal injuries, a fractured skull and a crushed chest, with no external wounds. These injuries were consistent with a high-pressure shockwave like an explosion, yet no explosion was reported. Another hiker had a missing tongue and eyes. The bodies also showed traces of radiation, though at low levels. The scene was chaotic. The tent was still intact, with food and warm clothes inside. Why did they not return? The official investigation concluded that a compelling natural force caused the deaths, but that phrase only deepened the mystery. The most disturbing discovery came later. One hiker, Lyudmila Dubanina, was found face down in a stream, her body partially decomposed. She had no tongue or eyes. Another, Zolotarev, had his eyes missing. The injuries were not caused by animals. The wounds were clean, as if done by a blade. Some theorists suggest a cover-up by the Soviet military. The area was near a secret missile test site. Could the hikers have witnessed a test and been eliminated? But why the bizarre injuries? Another theory is that a rare weather phenomenon, like a katabatic wind, created a sudden drop in pressure causing internal injuries. But no such wind was recorded. The truth may never be known. The case files were sealed for decades. Only in the 1990s did new investigations begin. But even with modern science, the cause of the Dyatlov Pass incident remains elusive. The mountain keeps its secret. The 9 hikers lie in a mass grave. Their story, a cautionary tale of nature's power and the limits of human understanding. The search for answers continues to this day. In 2019, a new study used computer modeling to simulate an avalanche. It concluded that a small slab avalanche could have forced the hikers out of their tent. The same study suggested that the internal injuries could have been caused by falling on rocks. But critics point out that the tent was not damaged by snow, and the injuries are inconsistent with a simple fall. The missing eyes and tongue are still unexplained. The radiation, though low, raises questions about possible military involvement. The Soviet government's secrecy only fueled speculation. The case has spawned countless theories: UFOs, Yeti, a secret experiment, a KGB hit, but none are proven. The Dyatlov Pass incident has become a cultural phenomenon, inspiring books, films, and documentaries. It is a reminder that some mysteries may never be solved. For the families of the victims, the lack of closure is a tragedy in itself. The 9 hikers are gone, but their story endures, a haunting puzzle in the snow. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. It is a story of adventure turned to tragedy, of a group of young people who ventured into the wilderness and never came back. The lack of a definitive explanation has allowed the mystery to grow, feeding our fascination with the unknown. For the YouTube channel Doomed Expeditions, this is exactly the kind of story that keeps us exploring. We delve into the most perplexing disasters in history, not to exploit tragedy, but to understand the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Doomed Expeditions. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest investigations, and leave a comment with your theory on what happened that night. The debate is far from over. The mountain still holds its secrets, but together, we can keep asking questions. Until next time, stay curious.